Karoline, humiliated by a judge in court, overcame the pain to return stronger than ever on Stephen Colbert's show. She not only stood up for herself, but also for all those who have been oppressed. Watch this surprising and inspiring conclusion. At the age of 27, Karoline Leavitt became a prominent figure in American politics, not only because she was the youngest White House spokesperson in history, but also because of how she represented Generation Z, a generation looking for a new, strong, and assertive approach to politics. While many other politicians continue to use traditional communication methods, Karoline chose a different path. Social media, where she connects directly with the public, delivering messages powerfully and without fear of criticism. Karoline Leavitt does not just stand on a podium to defend Donald Trump's policies, but she represents the values she believes can make America stronger. Unlike many in politics, Karoline is not afraid to face criticism and opposition from the media or those with opposing views. She always maintains her stance and stands up for what she believes is right. What sets her apart is her ability to use social media as a powerful tool to communicate and connect with the public, especially Gen Z, who no longer trust old media and are seeking transparency and authenticity in political dialogue. Gen Z, with the strong development of technology and social media, no longer relies on traditional channels like newspapers or television for information. Instead, they seek direct communication where information is not distorted or hidden. Karoline Leavitt understands this well and uses the power of social media to spread her message quickly and directly. With over 728,000 followers on X, formerly Twitter, Karoline is not just a political spokesperson, but also a symbol of change in how political communication is done. She has proven that social media is not just for sharing personal information, but can also be a powerful tool in political strategy, helping young people connect directly with politicians and the policies they represent. Karoline Leavitt is not just a spokesperson. She is a media strategist who knows how to build her image and connect directly with the public without relying on traditional intermediaries like newspapers or television. She uses X, TikTok, and other platforms to share her views on controversial policies, such as banning major news agencies like AP and Reuters from White House meetings. These decisions have faced strong criticism from the media, but Karoline has stood firm, defended her position, and explained that these policies are necessary to protect the truth, not to silence anyone. What is remarkable about Karoline is how she approaches tough questions from reporters and the public. Instead of reacting emotionally, she always remains calm and coherent, never allowing herself to be overwhelmed in debates. Every time she answers a question, it is not just a simple response, but a deeper debate where she affirms that politics should be transparent and straightforward. Her answers not only explain policies, but also serve as lessons on how to approach issues in modern politics. Karoline's presence in politics is not just the involvement of a young spokesperson, but also a symbol of Gen Z, a generation that values transparency and fairness. She not only defends Trump's policies, but also defends young people's belief in a strong future, free from old media influence and distortion by political interests. Every time Karoline speaks, she is not just speaking for herself, but for millions of young people who are also seeking a strong, transparent, and straightforward voice in politics. Karoline Leavitt has used social media as a tool to change the way political communication is done. While previous generations relied on traditional media to access information, Gen Z prefers directness and freedom in expressing their opinions. Social media has not only helped Karoline build influence, but also allows her to directly deliver political messages to the public without censorship or distortion. This is a significant shift in how politics is being conducted, and Karoline Leavitt is one of the pioneers in this change. With 728,000 followers on X and a large fan base on other platforms, Karoline Leavitt is not only Trump's spokesperson, but also a warrior for the younger generation, someone who is willing to defend the values she believes in, rather than merely standing behind a government or individual. She represents young people who are strong and unafraid to face challenges, using social media as a tool to connect and protect the values she believes in. She has proven that Gen Z is not a generation standing outside of politics. Instead, they are pioneers in using technology to change the game. Karoline Leavitt is the one who brought Gen Z into politics in a powerful and noteworthy way. While other politicians cling to old methods, Karoline has brought politics into the world of social media, where communication is no longer interrupted or controlled. Karoline Leavitt is not just a spokesperson. She is a warrior for the younger generation, someone who stands up to protect the beliefs and interests of young people in a rapidly changing world. Her answers are not merely responses to questions. They are statements that Gen Z is speaking up, not just to protect politics, but to reshape the country's political future. Stephen Colbert, with his sharp and sometimes sarcastic hosting style, continuously challenged Karoline Leavitt on sensitive political issues, especially press freedom and the role of the media in government. Since she appeared on The Late Show, Colbert has not missed an opportunity to ask questions that puncture Leavitt's arguments, creating a tense and dramatic confrontation. He continually probes sensitive issues, from whether Trump is softening his policies to whether the Trump administration truly protects the people's interests. Colbert's hosting style is known for its sarcasm, sharpness, and always aiming to clarify his guest points. With his skillful criticism and tough questions, Colbert created a tense atmosphere, making it impossible for the audience to look away. Moreover, he skillfully posed questions in a way that forced Karoline to answer not just about Trump's policies, but also about the administration's transparency and openness in handling controversial issues. For example, when Colbert asked whether Trump was softening his policies, the question was not just a critique, but a challenge about whether Trump's decisions were truly in the people's best interest or just political maneuvering. One of the major questions Colbert posed to Leavitt was about press freedom. While Karoline strongly defended the Trump administration, Colbert kept criticizing the administration's actions regarding banning major news agencies like AP and Reuters from key White House meetings. Colbert argued that this was a sign that the Trump administration was trying to control information and limit press freedom, a fundamental pillar of American democracy. This was a highly sensitive issue, as press freedom is considered one of the basic principles of a free and open society. With questions like these, Colbert was not only attacking Leavitt personally, but also challenging the values the Trump administration stands for. His questions were not simply asking for clarification, but were designed to highlight the contradiction between the administration's statements and their actual actions. He wanted to point out that removing major media outlets could undermine the transparency of the government. However, despite all the tough questions, Karoline Leavitt did not let the criticism and opposition distract her. She not only responded, but also skillfully argued that Trump's policies, while controversial, were actually bringing clear benefits to the country. Leavitt affirmed that the Trump administration had built a strong economy, creating more job opportunities for Americans, something she argued the previous administration had failed to do. She continued to defend Trump's tax policies and decisions regarding countries like Canada, arguing that imposing tariffs was not an act of aggression, but a strategy to protect America's economic interests. Leavitt emphasized that these strong moves were not just creating strength, but also protecting America from manipulation by other nations. In response to Colbert's criticism about banning major media outlets, Leavitt also strongly stated that this was not control, but an effort to protect the truth and justice, as she believed these agencies were no longer providing accurate information, instead sharing anti-Trump narratives. She pointed out that the Trump administration needed to protect the public from distorted information from unfair media. Political media and communication experts argue that in such confrontations, those who can remain calm and coherent will have the advantage. While Colbert constantly tries to stir the atmosphere and create controversy, Karoline chooses to confront these questions directly, confidently, and with sharpness. Leavitt was not flustered by the confrontation, but used the difficult questions to reinforce her arguments, convincing the audience of the values she defends. This is particularly important in today's political context, where public debates sometimes turn into personal attacks rather than discussions of the issues. Leavitt skillfully shifted debates from defending the administration to defending faith in a strong government and a growing economy, a strategy that helped her gain support from young people looking for a voice in politics. One of the things that made Karoline Leavitt stand out in this confrontation was her ability to use social media as a strategic tool to strengthen her arguments. While Colbert and traditional reporters relied on direct questioning and responses, Leavitt leveraged platforms like X, Twitter, and TikTok to expand her influence, engage with the public, and protect her views without being censored or distorted. By using social media, she not only directly responded to criticisms, but also built a community of supporters who shared the values and views she represents. Leavitt has proven that social media is not just a place to express personal opinions, but also a place to build and reinforce a political movement, a movement she believes will lead America to a stronger future, untainted by traditional media. The confrontation between Karoline Leavitt and Stephen Colbert was not only a sharp exchange of opinions, but also a deep reflection of the polarization in today's American politics. While Colbert continued to challenge and criticize Trump's policies, Karoline used her sharp communication skills, calm demeanor, and social media to protect her point of view. She demonstrated that in these challenging debates, persistence and smart media strategies are what help her hold firm and win over viewers. The encounter between Karoline Leavitt and Stephen Colbert was not just an intense political debate, but also a clear demonstration of the shift in how political communication is evolving in the 21st century. While traditional media still plays an important role in reporting and driving political conversation, social media has become an indispensable tool for building relationships and delivering messages directly from politicians to the public. Social media is no longer just a space for sharing personal information or entertainment content. It is now a powerful medium for politicians to communicate directly with voters, building and strengthening relationships with the community. Karoline Leavitt, one of the prominent figures in the Trump administration, is a prime example of how effectively using social media can connect with the public. She didn't just rely on traditional interviews or formal speeches to spread her views. She also leveraged platforms like TikTok and X, formerly Twitter, to communicate directly with the public. This is a powerful strategy as traditional media is increasingly mistrusted and losing credibility in the eyes of the public. Using social media has helped Karoline not only defend the Trump administration's policies, but also build a strong personal image as a politician who can engage directly with the public without being controlled by traditional media outlets. In this context, traditional media, including newspapers and television, has lost credibility with the public. A series of scandals and the lack of objectivity in reporting have raised doubts about the honesty of these outlets. Meanwhile, social media has become an open space where people can directly express opinions and share information without going through intermediaries. This brings a significant change to how political communication is done. Politicians like Karoline Leavitt have realized that social media is not just a place to make statements, but also a place to maintain an uninterrupted dialogue with voters. What stands out in Karoline's strategy is her ability to connect directly with the public without any intermediary steps like interviews or articles. Every post she makes on X or TikTok can receive immediate feedback from followers, allowing her to build a close relationship with supporters and directly respond to questions or criticisms from the public. This not only helps, Social media not only helps Karoline build a strong community of supporters, but also creates opportunities for her to engage in deep conversations about Trump's policies. She is not just a spokesperson, but part of the direct political conversation, where she can counter-argue and explain political decisions in real time. This makes her a new role model in modern politics, where information and opinions are no longer filtered or controlled through the media, but directly delivered to the public. One of the most interesting aspects of Karoline's media strategy is how she uses social media to confront even her critics. Unlike traditional politicians who often avoid difficult questions or criticism from the public, Karoline is unafraid to engage in online debates. Her confidence and quick responses not only help her strengthen her image with supporters, but also show that she can stand firm in the face of challenges, even when confronted with tough questions and strong opposition. Using social media also allows Karoline to create an open space for voters to express their opinions and concerns. This not only helps her maintain connections, but also helps her better understand the issues the public cares about. Traditional media may be restricted by outside interference, but with social media, Karoline can directly engage in dialogues without censorship. In the end, the change in how political communication is carried out through social media is not just a smart media strategy, but also a clear sign that political participation is changing. Karoline Leavitt is not just a politician using social media, but also a pioneer in changing how politics and the public communicate with each other. Through her powerful use of social media, she has become one of the new models in politics, where information is no longer limited and people can directly interact with their leaders. Social media has not only changed the way political debates are conducted, but also completely transformed how we understand and participate in the political process. The interview between Karoline Leavitt and Stephen Colbert was not just a verbal battle, but also an ideal clash between political generations and differing views on how to run the country. As the show ended, Karoline Leavitt not only held firm to her position, but also countered every question from Colbert strongly and decisively. She didn't just defend the Trump administration. She showed personal strength, asserting that she stood firm for what she believes will bring long-term benefits to the country. Despite facing criticism and provocative questions, Leavitt didn't let those elements distract her, but instead used sharp responses to counter opposing views, affirming the correctness of the administration she represents. The aftershock of this confrontation did not just stop at the Late Show, but quickly spread across social media platforms, where conservatives hailed her as a model for the younger conservative generation. To them, Karoline is the ideal model for Gen Z in politics, someone unafraid to face the media and opposing viewpoints to defend the values she and her supporters believe in. She is seen as a symbol of strength and decisiveness, a young warrior in the modern political battle, using platforms like X, on Twitter, and TikTok to directly transmit messages without the censorship of traditional media. However, on the other side, liberals and political opponents condemned her as a puppet of Trump, claiming she was merely a representative of a conservative administration without personal political views. These critics argue that her defense of Trump's policies without criticism or opposition shows a lack of independent reasoning and blind loyalty. Posts and comments from them on social media focus on criticizing Leavitt for not demonstrating more independent political stances, instead just defending Trump's policies without questioning their effectiveness and long-term impact. Karoline's post on X, Twitter, after the interview quickly attracted hundreds of thousands of likes, comments, and shares, showing her strong influence on social media. Reactions on the platform were mainly divided into two streams, one praising her for her confidence and ability to confront challenges, while the other criticizing her for lacking an independent viewpoint. This polarization once again shows the power of social media in creating public spaces for political conversations, where people can directly participate in building and countering opinions. She is not just a spokesperson for Trump, but also a symbol of Gen Z seeking new ways to communicate in politics. Her supporters view her as someone who knows how to use social media to connect directly with the public without being controlled by traditional media. They believe that Leavitt's use of the X platform to counter criticism and defend her views is a powerful strategy that helps her maintain support from young people who feel left out. On the other hand, critics argue that her strong social media presence only proves she is completely influenced by longtime politicians and lacks independent political views. They believe that her continued defense of Trump's controversial policies without reconsidering their effects is a serious mistake, and this diminishes the true value of political decisions in the eyes of the public. However, despite strong opposition, Karoline Leavitt has proven that social media is not just a tool to reach the public, but also a platform to build and protect political views. Using social media to directly answer tough questions and criticism from the public has created a turning point in how politicians communicate with citizens. Social media allows Karoline not only to build a supportive community, but also to create a space for dialogue with her opponents, making this confrontation more complex and profound. At the end of the interview, it was not just a battle of wits between Karoline Leavitt and Stephen Colbert, but also a clear testament to the shift in how politics is conducted. With social media becoming the primary communication tool in the digital age, Karoline Leavitt has shown that modern politics no longer just happens in government buildings or through traditional media channels, but also directly on platforms where citizens can easily access and participate in the conversation. And it is these confrontations that have helped her build a significant influence, not only in politics, but also in the global online community,